Hey, I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys. Fuji Guys have one of our most amazing product introduction
That's
videos
right.
ever. The first look at the X-T1. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an X-T1. This camera is so scarce right now in pre-production level. And of course, we like to have these videos ready for you the day of the launch. So I just don't have a camera yet. So we're going to try and describe it to you. As soon as we do get a camera from Japan, I promise you we'll make more videos where we can give you a better description.
Oh, hey, it's Kazuki.
Oh, it's Kazuki from Japan, and he brought an X-T1.
Yeah.
Awesome, so we can have a real first look video.
That is great. That's
okay,
awesome.
have a seat and join us.
Have a seat.
Join the.
At least I can actually do a first look video now with this.
Kazuki's like the Japanese Fuji guy. So listen, great. This is going to be a typical first look video now from the Fuji Guys. Thanks to Kazuki.
Thank you so much for bringing the camera.
So Kazuki's brought this camera to me. Right now it's got the 18-55 on it. It's got the flash that comes included with the camera, and it's got this optional battery grip that I'm just going to remove right now.
Camera looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. So this grip, which is sold separately, of course, vertical release, extra battery, all that good stuff. This camera is, I personally cannot wait to shoot with this and some of our new lenses. Right now we have the 10-24 and the 56 1.2 lens here on display that are being launched soon. This camera has an amazing new viewfinder. It's a new design, a new style for our X series with the viewfinder in the center. A little bit more comfortable for people that are used to shooting with SLR cameras and switching, as many of you are switching away from SLRs to our X series cameras. Got a great tilting screen, an amazing Wi-Fi functionality, full HD video, of course. And so this video, we are going to just do the typical thing. Billy's going to go through the top, the back, the front, and show you all the different buttons and what they do on this video. But really, since we have a special guest who brought this camera all the way from Japan, do we have a special message from Japan about this camera?
And we are so excited to launch this camera because this year is the 80th anniversary of our Fujifilm company. So please have fun with this photographic gear.
All right. Well,
Thank you
like
so
you
much.
say, we love photography, and we're making this stuff for you because you love photography too. So, Billy, take it away and give us our first look.
Absolutely, Greg. So let's take a look at the X-T1. Again, I had this attached, I guess, with the optional body grip, battery grip that is, and I'm just going to remove that for this video. And I'll talk about that later. And of course, also the removable flash that's also included with this camera. Of course, you see it flips out. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to talk about that quickly. So again, just looking at the front of this X-T1, I'm going to go through some of the buttons and control, as Greg mentioned. And it's quite easy for me just to remove the lens from this camera. So you can see there's a lens release right here. And I'm just going to put it down. Of course, you know, it is a mirrorless camera. And you always want to try to avoid dust, but of course I have the luxury of a service department downstairs to kind of clean the dust for me.
Free sensor cleaning. Anytime
I want. Again, so looking at the front, you got a few things here. You got a function button, and this is one of 6 function buttons that's found on the X-T1, and they are fully customizable, of course.
Amazing.
You got the AF assist lamp. You have the front command dial, and that dial is going to allow you to control things like 1/3 stops for the shutter speeds, as well as, you know, when you're playing back images, you can scroll through the images left and right using that dial. Again, that's a front command dial. I talked about the release. I talked about some of the contact pins that are found on X series cameras. They're these X mount cameras. Again, it does use the X-Trans CMOS 2 sensor, which is, you know, obviously proprietary to Fuji and which offers outstanding image quality. You got the Fujifilm logo as well as the X-T1 logo here in front. I know some of you guys prefer not to have anything, but you know, we want you guys, people to be proud of Fuji cameras. Yeah. We want everyone to know that, you know, when you're shooting out, you are using a Fuji camera. Beside it, you got a PC sync connection for attachments to, of course, studio lighting. And below that, again, you got your focus controls for manual, continuous autofocus, as well as single shot. And as you know from the X-E2, they've also improved the continuous focusing system on this camera to be very predictive now so that it can detect motion and help track it as well as adjust focus during the continuous shooting. So that's a great built on this.
And great for video too now.
Great for video as well, absolutely. On one side of the body, of course, you got the cover for the memory card. The memory card that, of course, it can accept goes up to even the ultra high speed 2 cards. This particular card here has a read speed of 260 megabytes per second and 240 megabits per second write, which is, you know what, incredible. If you're talking about some of those extreme cards that go up to class 10 and you know 200 times, all they go up to is really about 90 megabytes, right? And here again, you got much faster. So you're not going to have any lag issues when you are shooting in JPEG and even JPEG with RAW files when it comes to buffering. You also got the area here, the eyelet, strap eyelets. We attach, of course, the neck strap that's included. So talking about that, let's go to the opposite side of the camera where, again, you got the opposite strap eyelid. And, of course, you got another cover here. I'm going to open that up. And the cover itself has, of course, the external microphone input. It can also act as a remote release. So it uses this 2.5 millimeter connector. And then, you know, the ones that are used on Canon cameras and other brands will also work with this particular connection port. You got your mini HDMI connection as well as your USB connection. So the USB, of course, is generally used to download images to the computer. I always recommend using a card reader, if anything.
Faster, easier.
We also offer an RR90 remote release as well. So if you don't have that, you can purchase a Fuji remote release that attaches to the side, allows you to release the shutter from the camera. Okay, looking at the, I guess, top of this camera now.
Lots of dials.
There's a lot of dials, and this is the great thing about Fuji cameras is the amount of external dials and controls that you have, and it's the controls that you really want as a photographer too. And first off is, of course, I love this. It's the ISO dial
Thank you.
that you can instantly adjust your ISO settings, including an automatic ISO, which again you can configure minimum shutter speeds as well as maximum ISO levels using the automatic mode. But you also have low, and you also have a couple of high settings which can be customized in the menu of this camera. And of course, there's a lock button, and you hold it down to rotate to the ISO that you have, so you're never going to accidentally bump that off the dial. Just below that, of course, you have the drive options here. You can slide it left and right. You have different bracketing, high-speed shooting modes. There's also the place where you can find multiple exposure as well as, you know, some panoramic and advanced filter effects that you can get. So generally, I just leave that on the single shot. Beside that, it's hard to see, but you have the diopter adjustment here for the nice viewfinder. You also have one of the microphones, the left mic. You have the hot shoe on top. It supports the TTL, Fuji TTL flashes, including the EF42 as well as the EF20 flash and the X-20 flash. Like I said again, I'll bring up the EF-X8 flash, which has a guide number of 11 using ISO 200, of course, and that will work with this camera. There's an extra pin that's on this now that provides power to the flash, so you can't use this on any other Fuji camera. Again, you have that extra pin to provide power to this flash that's included. Moving over, you have the view mode button, and that toggles between the different view options. You have whether it's on using the EVF or the LCD or having the eye sensor built in. They really improved that. I like having the button there to quickly change. Beside it, you also have the other microphone. You got your shutter speed dial again, and the shutter speed dial gives you one full stop. There's even a notch for the 1/80th sync speed. So if you're doing flash sync photography with this camera, you can just quickly dial it to that. And then, of course, it is locking, but it's locking on the automatic part of it. So once you push down and bring it to the other shutter speeds, you don't have to unlock the dial. Okay. Just below it, you also have an extra option for, I guess, metering or photometry is what Fuji calls it. You know, you got spot metering, matrix metering, if you want to call it that, and of course, an average metering. And again, I like having that instant control on this camera. Beside that, you got your shutter release. You got your on and off switch. And then, of course, to that, you have your one-touch dedicated video record button. So it doesn't matter what mode you're in. You can start and stop recording on the spot. You got your compensation dial here for exposure, so you can under or overexpose the scene up to about 3 stops, which is kind of nice. And it does have a much stronger tension this time, so you're not going to accidentally knock it off it. And the great thing is the new firmware actually lights up now if it is actually off the 0 mark, so it's a little bit easier to notice that. You got your function button. This is the second function button on this camera, again, that's customizable. In the playback mode, it becomes your instant Wi-Fi button to turn on the Wi-Fi connection, where from that point you can transfer images to your smartphone, as well as control the camera's operation using a remote camera app that's free of charge for iOS and Android users, okay? So that's just the top plate. Let's quickly look at the bottom plate of this camera. There's a couple of things here. Of course, you got the battery door cover here that gives you access to the battery now. And the great thing again is that the memory card is no longer in this battery slot. Like I mentioned, it's on the side. So if you are putting this in a studio, you have it on a tripod, it's much easier to quickly change the memory card. And again, it uses the MP126W batteries, just like any of our CSC models that we offer. Just below that, of course, you have your built-in speaker so that it plays back audio. You got your metal tripod socket. It's a standard tripod socket, so it's going to fit pretty much any tripods out there. Just below that, you have some contact, and that's actually a communication contact for the battery grip, which I will also give you a first look on as well. There is a rubber cover that comes with this, and on the battery grip, there's a slot where you can actually store that rubber so that you don't lose it, okay? So that's really just the bottom side of this camera. Looking now at the back of this camera, first thing I'm going to point out, the most obvious is having the tilt LCD screen. It's a really nice 3-inch, over 1 million pixel resolution LCD, which is nice. It also has a hardened glass protector on it as well to prevent scratches. Above that, you got your instant delete button, your playback button. You got this incredible, I guess we call it the world's fastest, refresh, in its category, the EVF. In addition to that, of course, you got a very large magnification, about 0.77 times.
It's by far the best EVF I've ever used or seen. That alone is going to get a lot of people from the DSLR side that really haven't gotten over EVFs. Once you see this, and I'll let you get back to that.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's beautiful. I mean, the refresh rate on this is over 60 frames a second now, and that's even the same case for when shooting in low light situations. So that's going to be, it's almost like having an optical viewfinder. And plus with the multi-mode function that's on this EVF, where you can do things like picture-in-picture, it's really kind of cool to utilize now for framing your shots. Just below it, of course, is the eye sensor. And one thing that's new with this year's model is that this piece actually does come off, and there is plans for an eye cup piece so that it's going to be even a lot more comfortable. I've also had people talk about this location of the EVF being sort of centered to the camera, which now for left-handed users, it's going to be a little bit easier to use for them as well. Going across the camera, you got your auto exposure lock button. You got also your autofocus lock on the opposite side of things. Of course, you can configure the autofocus lock to do both if you wanted to do it that way. You got your rear command dial, and again, that's again giving you access to either zoom in on the image to magnify the image as you zoom in, zoom out. But it also can be reversed to the front and back as well in the menus, which is nice. You got your focus assist button. It's a dedicated button that you push, and it actually magnifies the screen whether you're in autofocus or whether you're in manual focus. You can now use that to quickly get in. In playback mode, you can push that, and it zooms in 100% to the screen and to the focus point that you've selected so that you can quickly check focus on the picture that you shot. You got your quick access Q button. So you got your, again, directional pad that allows you to navigate the menu in the camera going up, down, left, right. There's also a menu OK button to confirm your selection. What's new this year, if I turn on this camera, is that these directional pads are no longer marked for any functions like macro or flash. You can now actually fully customize them to what you'd like them to be. So it gives you, again, 4 different function buttons on top of the other 2 functions. And if you do get confused about the function buttons and where they go, you can hold down the display back button for a few seconds and it brings up the configuration screen with a new graphics that really pinpoint exactly where all the function buttons are.
That is amazing.
And it really tells you, like I said, if you felt like autofocus should be pushing up to move the 49 points, do that. And you have that total flexibility. And I really like that this camera is a photographer's camera. It's really meant for someone who wants quick access, no nonsense electronic menus. You can really do most of your shots through the menus and controls of this camera. And again, this is not a button, but the last point to make is that this camera is made in Japan. So once you pick up this camera body, it has that nice build quality. It looks beautiful. You got this die-cast magnesium built to the body itself. And it's even, we didn't mention it earlier, but it's also weather sealed as well. Of course, using a weather sealed lens to fully have it sealed from the elements. So I'm just going to put the lens back in because I don't get any.
Yeah, again, you've got the 18 to 55 there. Again, Billy mentioned the optional power grip, which, besides having an extra battery, which is also optional, has the vertical release. There is, for the record, just another ergonomic grip available. So if you don't need the extra power and you don't want to make the camera that much more bulky, you do have this version, which is cut out so you can change the battery without removing this grip, which is an improvement on our previous grips. I personally can't wait to use this camera, Billy.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't know if you need to make any more videos, but I'd like to use it this weekend. I also want to make mention that just around the same time of launching and shipping this camera, we're launching two very, very highly coveted and long-awaited lenses that were on our roadmap. The incredible 56mm 1.2 portrait lens and the 10 to 24 super wide zoom lens with f4 constant aperture. So a lot of you are waiting for these as well, I know. We've just gotten the first ones in right now, and right around the same time we're shipping this camera, we're shipping these new lenses as well.
Now, I forgot to talk about the battery grip, and now I have it attached to this camera. It's a seamless attachment, similar to other battery grips you'll find on high-end professional DSLR systems. It is a weather-sealed grip as well, so it works flawlessly with the X-T1. Greg mentioned about the shutter release that gives you the vertical shutter release. It also has a lock button on it, so if you do use it and you have it this way, you're not accidentally using your thumbs or your palm to actually take photos. It also gives you front and rear command dials, just like the camera's body. And you also have access to things like the exposure lock, focus lock, as well as a focus assist button. And as Greg mentioned, it uses the NP126 battery. It is a battery grip, so you do have an option to attach an additional battery to this, allowing you to up to about, I guess now, 700 shots on two batteries. And it is an NP126 battery that fits into this. Now, it will operate without the battery, but if you want the extra power, of course, you should pick up an extra battery and fully utilize the battery grip to last you pretty much the full day. So again, the grip gives you a nice ergonomic feel to the camera. And truthfully, compared to some of the DSLR systems out there, it's not any bigger, but gives you that nice grip and feel. If you're a portrait photographer and really do a lot of shots this way, this is going to be an ideal piece to pick up on.
Agreed. Okay, so that's great. That's the first look video. I know it was a long one, but there's a lot of new things and different dials on this camera. It took a little bit longer to explain, but amazing camera. Do come back, check out the videos to see the more advanced features. In fact, subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out all our other videos. Follow this guy on Twitter, stay up with all the latest news. And do come back. Until the next video, my name's Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys.